All right, students, welcome back. Welcome to another edition of our real-time SAT series. Today we are going to be going through the final section of the week. We covered every other section of the test, the March 2021 test. And today we will be going through the math with a calculator section. I apologize for the late start here. As it turns out, I had forgotten where my calculator was, so I was scrambling around to find it. Not always a good way to start one of these live streams, but hopefully we'll make up for it in time. As you guys get into the live stream today, if you haven't been with us already, if you've never seen one of these before, can you guys give me a thumbs up or a hello in the chat, and we will get started here in just a second. Just so we can address you. Again, we'll be going through the March 2021 math with a calculator section. I have posted, or somebody's posted, I think somebody's posted this. Hopefully. Oh yeah, if you guys, somebody, our admin posted the link. If you guys want to follow along with this test, you absolutely can. Hey guys, welcome. Thanks guys for the comments there on the chat. If you have any questions while we go through it, don't hesitate to ask. One of the things that I want everybody to continue to remember, I'll bring up, you have seen this in previous live streams, I always like to use SAT test number 6, test 6 to demonstrate the math section. As we go through this today, I won't spend too much time talking about the scoring because we've already talked about it a lot. Yeah, guys, the reading and writing for the March 2021 test, we've actually already done those. So if you guys, the first thing in the description below this video, this live stream, the first thing in the description is the playlist for the March 2021 exam. We've already done the reading and the writing and language section for those. And we're going to do that comprehensive review tomorrow as well. So I don't know if we're going to get to another one of these real-time videos, but I just wanted to make sure that we got through the entire March 2021 test, given that that was the most recent. I should say this, though, before we start talking about anything related to the SAT. We do have a comprehensive SAT review. 3 p.m. U.S. Pacific. Okay, guys, so I just posted the next live stream that we'll do is tomorrow. It's at 3 p.m. U.S. Pacific. If you guys are interested in joining that, yeah, this is the real SAT for March, and then the playlist has the other 3 sections. This is the last one that we haven't done yet. This will be included in the playlist, and will be posted as a recording as soon as we're done. And then for tomorrow's live stream, we'll be doing a comprehensive review where we go through really all 4 sections and talk about kind of the base strategy, the foundation for all 4 sections of the exam. Okay, so is that all good, guys? Can everybody give me a thumbs up? If you guys, again, click the playlist, and I'll bring it up. I'll post it in the chat as well here. Give me one sec. March 2021 SAT. Yeah, guys, so like I said, that March 2021, this is the last section that we have to do. We're going to go through it. We'll see how we do. 2 of the sections I did without talking very much, the writing and language section and the math no calculator section, I tried to do in half the amount of time that they typically give you, or right around half the time. So that's always kind of an interesting watch, talking about how important it is to understand your concepts, obviously as they relate to the writing and language and the 2 math sections. So again, I encourage you guys to watch that. Last thing, guys, before we get going here, can everybody give me one more thumbs up, just to make sure that you guys are 2 thumbs up in the chat, or a thumbs up if you want to remain anonymous for one reason or another. Just give us a thumbs up below the video so that we know everybody's following along. Otherwise, give us 2 thumbs up in the chat saying you're ready to go. Again, this is the calculator section, the last section of the March 2021 test. If you guys are looking for the writing and language or the reading or the other math no calculator section, you guys can click the playlist either right below this video or the one that I just posted in the chat. Either one of those will work. And otherwise, guys, we'll get started here in just a second. So before we actually get started with the real-time exam, the one thing that I'm very, very adamant about reminding you, and if you join us for the real-time video tomorrow, the live stream tomorrow for the comprehensive review, you'll see this there as well. When you think about the math section, and the math section is so critical, it's true of the writing and language to a certain extent as well, and definitely to the reading as well. But the math is the most important because a lot of these concepts that you guys see on this test will be ones that you've already seen. That doesn't mean that in the moment you're going to know how to do them. Okay, so again, the thing that we have to avoid on this test, and this is where I was the best. When I was a kid, I was the best at this because I was so lazy as a kid. Unfortunately, I can't stand that trait about myself looking back now. But I was so lazy that I had to develop some work ethic as I got older. I wish I would have done it at 16, 17 years old like so many of you guys have right now, is that really strong work ethic. If you're struggling right now thinking, why can't I do better at this test, or why can't I do better on a section, keep that work ethic. That will serve you so much better than being a great test taker in real life. The only thing that was an advantage to me when I was a kid was that when I saw a problem that I didn't know how to do, I never beat myself up about it. That's a really bad trait in life, right? You want to beat yourself up a little bit. You want to challenge yourself a little bit in every aspect of your life so that you continue to improve. But in the moment when you're taking a test, challenging yourself and getting down on yourself for not knowing a concept or spending too much time on a question is a huge, huge issue when every question is worth the same amount of points. So in my mind, when I went into a test like this, I knew I could do well. I knew I was going to do well. I always tested well as a kid because I wasn't very stressed as a kid, and I'm still not totally that stressed now. And my mom was a math teacher, so looking at this stuff, math has been the one real-time video where we've struggled a little bit because I just need to know more concepts. I struggle with the same issue that I did when I was a kid, and I'm a math tutor now. My mom's a math teacher. She's always been, it's just one of those things. But the thing that I always recognized was that if I needed to get, I was never setting out to get an 800 on the math section. Now, if I put in the time and the effort, could I have? Maybe, on any given day, probably I could have on one test when I was a high school student. Not on every one, though, right? You can have a bad day, you can have an off day, one thing, you might make a simple mistake, all that kind of stuff. And the thing that I want all of you guys to take from these videos is that don't beat yourself up during the test. If you want to come out of the test and do the whole like, oh, I'm such a failure, blah, 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 that's fine. Do that after, right? Don't do it during the test. If you see a question that you don't know, you need to remember, and I'm going to pull this up on the background of my screen. You guys are going to see this. This is SAT test number 6. Now, that's not the one that we're going through today, of course, but I always like to use, if you guys are ever looking for a good scale score to look at, right, in terms of just an average scale on the SAT, it's not too easy, not too hard. SAT test number 6 on Khan Academy or from the Blue Book is a great one to look at. Okay, because you'll see here that every question roughly on the math sections, right, there's 58 questions, there's 20 questions, right, on the no calc, and then today there's 38 questions on the calc section, which is what we're going through. Okay, you'll see that every question is worth 10 points. And as a kid, I knew that I didn't need to set myself, I didn't want to set my sights on an 800 because I was too afraid to fail. That's really what it came down to, right? That's why laziness kind of overwhelms us. But I knew that I could do well enough to please myself, to make sure that my parents were, right, pleased with my performance, all that. So I would set my sights, so let's say on something like a 760. I thought that was a reasonable goal score for myself. And that meant that on this test, I could skip 4 questions, right? And I knew that going into this. I don't know what the scale is going to be for this particular math test. We'll see at the end today. But I don't know what the March 2021 scale is going to be. But I generally reference test number 6. So if I'm looking to get a 760 on the math section, I know that I need to get 54 out of 58 questions right. If you watched our no calculator video, you'll know that I didn't miss any there, so I'm 20 for 20 right now going into the calculator section. I wouldn't have known that on the real test, but I know that now. And my goal then is that I only need to get 34 out of 38 questions right in order to get a 760, which is in the top 2% of all students, maybe even higher, top 1% of all students that take the math section of the SAT. And that was always my goal as a kid. And you can imagine, even if you're a great math student, particularly really if you're a great math student who's challenging themselves, you can imagine how much stress that takes off of you when you're not thinking about an 800, you're thinking about a 760, which is still exceptionally good. And it's amazing when that stress is removed, how you then end up getting the 800, right? Because you're not thinking about, I got to get an 800, every question is not worth so much that you stress about every question. You're like, oh, I can skip 4. And when you take that stress away, all of a sudden those 4 that may have been hard under stressful conditions can be much, much easier. Okay, so can everybody give me a thumbs up? One more thumbs up if that all makes sense. One more thumbs up if that makes sense, guys, and then we'll get started here. So 1 thumbs up. Give me 1 second here. Let's get started. Great, guys. Yeah, physics. I know that you've been on some of these live streams before. So great. Yeah, you guys are doing great. Again, if you keep working hard, if you keep participating in these, I promise your score will continue to improve. The one thing that this channel, and I don't like to give us very many compliments because, again, like I said, I was a really lazy high school student. But the one thing that we do better than I think anybody else, and this is in all of our programs, is that we try to take the stress away. We have a realization of what it's like for you in the actual testing environment. Somebody, a teacher or a tutor who's telling you to do something when the time is not running that's a big issue. That's very, very different types of tests, where there's time and when there's not time. And the reason we've wanted to do these videos as much as we have is to try to get you guys to a point where you understand how to take a test when it is time and to maximize your score, to take the stress away. Because if you take your stress away and you know that going into the calculator section that you can skip 3 or 4 questions, that takes, you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this problem. And instead of being like, oh, I remember this from 8th grade, I can't remember it, you think, oh, I can just skip this one and I know that I should know this, but I don't today. And now I'm moving on. And that is the key to being a great test taker when there's time involved. And that's really what we want to show you in all of these videos. So in any case, without further ado, I don't want to keep talking too much. You guys came here for the real-time video. I'm going to set my timer here, if I can, if I can pull it up. Set my timer for 55 minutes, which, as you guys know, is the time associated with the calculator section. Oops. Come on. Come on, Chase. And then we will get started. Okay, where's the timer? Come on. It's not coming up for some reason. Oh, there it is. Whoops. Right there the whole time. I'm just an idiot. Okay, there we go. You'd think after all this time I would be able to figure out this timer. Okay, so guys, there's going to be 55 minutes on the clock here. This is the March 2021 SAT. Okay, and when you guys look through this, okay, can everybody give me one final good to go so that I know you guys are ready to start? If you want to follow along, you can use, oh no, now my calculator battery is low, of course, classic. So I guess I'll only use my calculator when I need to. I'll try to turn it on, or maybe this is just classic, right? Start the live stream. Okay, right as I don't have my calculator ready, then I don't. So guys, make sure that you don't do this. This is a perfect example of what not to do on test day. This is a good example of what I used to do as a high school student. I haven't broken all my bad habits yet, so yeah, well, we'll try to get through it. In any case, guys, one last thing that I want to remind you of, if your calculator runs out of battery, if you're like me who just, spaces out sometimes, and you forget to charge your calculator, don't let that phase you when you get to the test. Right now, we're doing this. I'm not going to go charge my calculator. You're not going to charge your calculator in the testing environment. If you don't have much battery left in your calculator, then it's very, very important that you just sit there and you don't turn your calculator on until you absolutely need it, and try to go through this without using your calculator. 90% of these problems, you do not need your calculator, and sometimes your calculator actually affects you negatively unless you're extremely good with a calculator, which is like 2% of students are good enough to really have a major positive effect on this calculator section. So 90% of these questions can be solved without using your calculator. This is not a time to stress if this happens to you. You just sit there, you only turn on your calculator when you absolutely need it, and you trust that the math is not that hard. Just one last clarification thing. Every single question on the math with a calculator section can be solved without a calculator. The SAT is very adamant about stating that. You don't need a calculator for any one of these questions. Now, a couple questions, like I said, 10% of the questions, it's extremely helpful to have a calculator for calculation purposes, but you don't need a calculator for any of these. So rather than stressing if this happens, take a deep breath, right? Everything about these real-time videos is about not stressing out when you have these, moments where you otherwise would feel very stressed and anxious. Everything is okay. It is what it is. We're going to move on, and we're going to try to do our best. Even if our calculator is low on batteries, we're going to try to compartmentalize as best we can to still maximize our score. I can skip 4 questions. I said 10% of the questions are all that you need your calculator for. There's 4%, right? There's 10%. 4 out of 38 is just a little bit over 10%. So we should be good to go, even if I don't have my calculator, to still score in the 760 range. And then I can guess on those final 4. So again, we'll see how it goes today. Hopefully, I wish I had remembered to do that. I couldn't even find my calculator before this. But in any case, guys, let's see how we do. Okay, so 55 minutes on the clock. And our time starts now. All right, we're good. Okay? Get off to a good start. Okay? I never want to look at a question that's too difficult. Okay? I never want to look at a question that's too difficult here. So, this first one, sample of water was taken from each of the 10 different locations in a pond. Be very careful, write everything out. The pH of each sample was measured. The measurements are summarized in the frequency below. Okay, frequency table means that there was a frequency here from 6.8 to 7.0. Okay. One time here, 7.4 or greater. There was 4 instances of that, and 3 instances of that. So there's D. So frequency table shows that there's only one, right? One of the locations was 6.8. 4 of the locations were 7.4 to 7.6. And again, that one's a relatively easy one to understand. Generally speaking, this test is in order of difficulty, but that doesn't mean that we won't encounter a difficult question on certain types of questions here, okay? So we got to be careful about that. Let's see here. 2015, I'm trying to keep an eye on my timer here. Okay, in 2015, let's see, Miami had a population of 441,000 people. An area, what was the population density per square mile in 2015? So this is one, guys, this would be the one example where 441. Here's a good example though, guys, right? Everybody's so worried about what their calculator is going to do. I'm going to turn on my calculator to do this. But if you totally ran out of batteries, you didn't have a calculator to use, 441 divided by 36, right? Generally speaking, if this was 440 and we just crossed off those zeros and said 44 divided by 36, right, that would be hopefully somewhere around, I think it would be somewhere around answer choice A or B, right, 44 divided by 36. So again, even if your calculator completely runs out of batteries and you don't have time to do long division, I think, it's not a guarantee, but I think we are going to be able to eliminate answer choices C and D, because 36 is not 1.5. 1.5 times 36 would be something greater than 44. And I think it's going to be greater, right? We can probably answer B here, but let's just do it in our calculator, right? We're just doing 441,000 divided by 36. Yeah, 12,250, right? So it's B. And you guys can see that you can make assumptions based on, without having to do all of the long division out, if you're just taking your time and not overthinking the use of your calculator. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to skip number 3. That one looks too much, right? I just started this section. I don't want to overwhelm myself right off the bat. That looks to be too much. Number 4, the ratio of grams to kilocalories of energy released is 12. Must provide 80. Okay, so just be careful here, right? The the ratio of grams of glucose combusted 2 kilocalories. So it's 12 to 45, right? And that's equal to x over 85.5. Right now, everybody wants to cross multiply and go through the whole process. But look, guys, 12 over 45, 45 to 85, 45 times 2, right, is roughly, all right? To 45. Glucose. Yeah, 12 to 45. 12 over 45. Yeah, that's right. Right. This is roughly times 2. So we can assume, I think, that 12 times 2 is 24. So I think the answer has to be C for number 4. Right. And again, everybody wants to go through every step of cross multiplication and do. You don't need that on your test. This was the advantage that I had as a kid. Because if you guys, some of you are probably laughing or will laugh about this, but when you do this in school, right, your teacher tells you to write everything out. Well, I was the kid that would do everything on my calculator, guess and check to the right answer, and then try to scribble in stuff in the middle because I didn't do any of the steps that they wanted, that she or he wanted, right? And you just hope that they're not really paying attention to the work shown. That was the beauty of an SAT or an ACT test, is that you didn't need to show your work. You didn't need to go through the whole process of saying 45x equals 12 times 85.5. You don't need to do all that. If 45 times roughly 2 is 90, right? 45 times 2 is 90, which is pretty close to 85.5, then it's going to be 12 times just something a little bit short of 24, because 12 times 2, right? So just keep thinking about that. 5 should be really straightforward, right? We can't afford to miss a question like number 5. Take your time. I always like to write everything out again. Okay, so this is always one that, this is like going back to my mom, right? If my mom was here, she would say, write everything out. You're writing out x squared, right, minus 7. Okay, well now I know that I'm going to plug in 3 for each value. And you think that this takes a long time, but it really doesn't. Right now I get 9 minus 7, and I get 2. And that maybe took me like, I don't know, 5 seconds more than it would have if I tried to do it in my head. 5 seconds, but I know that I didn't make a simple mistake there. I'm 99% sure I didn't make a simple mistake there. And that's the value of doing it this way, of writing things out, of taking your time by skipping questions like number 3, which looked like a long word problem, so that you don't make a simple mistake on question number 5, which is super easy and equal value to a long word problem like question number 3. Think about 3 versus 5. Which one is more likely where you could make a simple mistake? And then if you do number 3, make a simple mistake, or you lose your momentum, there's a very high likelihood that you could miss number 5 too from the same simple mistake. Let's look at 6. The probability of an unfair coin landing head side is 0.6. A student tossed this coin of the air 9 times. Landed tails up 5 times and heads up 4 times. And the coin heads side up on the 10th toss. This one should be pretty straightforward. Don't forget that independent events and probability have nothing to do, right? It's just this one toss. It's not, the first 9 events have nothing to do with this. So if you guys have studied probability, if you toss a regular coin, right, think about all of the extra wording that they included in there that just is not necessary. Every coin toss individually is an independent event. If you start doing things where you combine those, that matters. Like, what are the chances that 10 in a row are heads, right? Then you start multiplying together. But one independent event is just whatever the odds are for that event, 0.5 or in this case 0.6. I'm going to skip number 7 because that one looks like too long of a word problem. Do I think I'll be able to do number 7 eventually? Yeah, probably. Do I need to do it right now? No, I don't, okay? Because that's only going to slow down this momentum that I'm seemingly gaining by not doing those difficult problems. And I've only skipped 2, right? I'm going to come back to those, I think, because I think I'm going to have enough time at the end. According to the model, what distance in miles... So just be really, really careful. If you ever get a question that refers to multiple questions to one graph or figure, be very careful. These are not very hard problems, but once again, reading tables and graphs are something that we see students make so many simple mistakes. Just take your time. You guys can see that I'm talking through this whole thing because I'm not stressed about how I'm going to do. I'm just taking my time, writing things out, and realizing that the math only goes up to an Algebra 2 level. Okay, so let's not overestimate this test. Let's do everything that we've always been taught since the 3rd grade by writing everything out. Okay, so let's make sure that we understand. Jaime drove a car from West Union, Minnesota, through North Dakota to Miles City. The total distance he traveled in each city is shown in the figure below. Okay, distance d in miles, drove as a function of time. Since she started driving is modeled by the equation d equals 60t. Anytime you see this, right, this is just a y equals mx plus b equation, where m equals 60, and b is equal to 0. So always think about that from a linear, look out for linear equations is what I'm getting at. According to the model, what distance in miles had Amy driven 3 hours after she started driving, right? Distance equals 60 times 3. Write it all out. It should be 180, right? D. Hopefully not too hard as we go through this. What interval represents all values of t during which Jaime drove to? So she drove through North Dakota after the 120 mile marker, right? So at 120, that would be 2 hours into the journey. So I know that it's 2 hours because she's driving right in this first quadrant through Minnesota and then into North Dakota. So I know I can eliminate C and D. And then I'm going up to 360. So right, we're going to say 360 equals 60t divided by 60 divided by 60. So t is equal to 6, looks like. We've added the 120, so it's 2, right? That's 6 total hours. And so we're going from 2 to 8. So I think 9 should be B, hopefully. Okay, let's keep going. Let's skip number 10. Number 11, I like percentages. If you don't like percentages, don't do number 10. But if you take these one step at a time, this is going all the way back to basic arithmetic. So generally, I like these ones. A local restaurant gives teachers a 20% discount. You see how much you try to circle things, write things, mark up the page when you're taking the real test. If you're taking the computer test, you just got to be really careful. You can highlight with with the mouse, whatever you're using. You can highlight with something, I think, and you have scratch paper. So continue to write things down. If a teacher pays $14 for a meal after the discount was applied, what is the price of the meal before the discount? Okay, so be careful. This is 20% discount on all their meals. If they pay $14 per meal after the discount, right, that would mean that we say 0.8x, because you're taking a 20% off, which would be 100% minus 20% is 80%, is equal to $14. Oops. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.8, divide by 0.8. This is one I'm going to use my calculator. No, 14 divided. Oops, 14 divided. 17.5. Okay. Frequency table again, it shouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to skip that one because at number 13, right, this is an input-output table. It says y equals f of x. What is the y-intercept of the graph, right? It's a linear function, meaning this is just y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. There's two things that you can do. You can either graph this, right? You can just plot those points and graph it and it will become very apparent. Or you can say, right, for every value of x, we went over -2 here, right? That's the run. And we went up, what is that? We went up 6. Now, guys, I'm just going to graph this. I know this is probably easier than I'm looking at it, but, I'm sure some of you are looking at this being like, how do you not know how to do this problem? For whatever reason, on this time test, I just don't know how to do it, right? So I'm just going to roughly graph this. And I think we're going to get our answer, right? So we get 4, 8, right? There's going to be -2. And then we get 1, 2, 3, -7. That's going to be big, right? So it's -3, -7, 1, 2, 3, -7 is like down here. Okay, so that's going to be coming down somewhere like in this range. Oops. So it's definitely not going to be these two, right? Because it's going to be a positive slope. It's going to be positive. And if I plug in 0, 2, now I can probably figure it out, right? We go down 15, -15. We go +3, or +5 rather. So it looks like it's -3. Down, yeah, it's 0, 2. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so Srinath, yeah, you're right. That is, yeah. So, but you can see, right? Guys, that's a great question. I'm sure some of you were looking at that being like, what does he do? How does he not know how to do that one? For whatever reason, that one was throwing me off. I made an assumption that I was going to be going up to the right as a positive slope. That was just what I had in my mind. It didn't work out that way because then I started getting confused. So I knew it was a linear function, so I just graphed roughly 2 points, and immediately I could eliminate 2 answers. And then I started to see what was going on there, and then I realized that it was going down, right? It was a -3 slope, meaning that we would go over 1, down 3, right? Over 1, down 3 from -2, 8, so we'd get to 0, 2. Don't be afraid to go all the way back to the very beginning of when you guys started looking at y equals mx plus b. Don't be too proud to revert back to things that you learned even in the 6th grade, okay? It's very, very important. I'm gonna skip number 14. I don't like these increases. I said I like percents, but there's just something about those that can throw you off. So I'm skipping that one. I can always come back to it. The scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables x and y. A line of best fit is also shown. Okay, line of best fit is just with these points, right? For those of you who haven't taken a stats class, a line of best fit is just trying to model those points because nothing is ever perfectly linear. What is the equation of the line of best fit? It's very, very straightforward, right? We're going through a point. Let's start always with the easiest point. Everybody knows that the y, right, the y-intercept of this is going to be above, it's going to be at 3.7, right? So just immediately, whoa, I can't do that, never mind. Okay, let's do this then. Everybody knows that the slope is positive. So I know that I can eliminate this one, and I can eliminate this one, right? Because these are the two slopes, even though they're written out of order there. Okay, so then I get 1 point, and then the 3.7, right? The y-intercept is going to be at A. Okay, does that all make sense? Start with the easier part of this. The y-intercept is clearly at 3.7, so whatever's not attached to the x is the y-intercept. So I could have eliminated b and d for the y-intercept being an issue, and then we had a negative slope on c, and we know it's a positive slope. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, linear function, right? Y equals mx plus b. If you see linear function, or if you see line, or if you see the graph of a line, y equals mx plus b is the first thing you need to be thinking about. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept, and then x and y are just coordinate points that you can plug in. Okay, if f of 2 is equal to 10, meaning that it's just 2, right? X is 2 and y is 10. And the graph of y of x has a slope of 3, so y equals 3x, right? Y equals 3x plus b. This is exactly what I was talking about. We just can plug in these 2 points. 10 is equal to 3 times 2 plus b. 10 equals 6 plus b, because that's just our x and y points, right? Minus 6, b is equal to 4. So we know we have a slope. So right away, what I should have done here is I should have seen that the slope is 3, eliminated a and b for number 16, left it at, right, and then solved. So, but by eliminating a and b, it just takes away 2 more things to think about. Just immediately eliminate those. I didn't do that time, but I try to do that every time. Okay, if 7x plus 21 equals negative 2, what is the value of x plus 3? Be really careful. What is the value of x plus 3? You'll see that I underline that. How many times do you think, watch what happens. Watch what the SAT loves to do. Right, 7x plus 21 is equal to negative 2. Right, subtract 21 on both sides. 7x equals negative 23. Divide by 7. X is equal to, they didn't do it this time, but how often do you think that the SAT puts on negative 23 over 7 as an option? So frequently. They do it so frequently, and we can't let that happen. Okay, they didn't this time, so you guys, everybody that's taking this lucks out of it. But it's x plus 3, so don't circle the value of x. In this case, that doesn't appear, but don't circle the value of x. Now we have to add on 3, right? Which is just equal to 21 over 7 is 3. So negative 23 over 7 plus 21 over 7 is equal to negative 2 over 7 for number, what is this, 17b. Okay? Does that all make sense? Can everybody give me a thumbs up as you guys are watching? Can everybody give me a thumbs up if you are seeing the value in writing everything out? It doesn't take that long. We're at, what, 38 minutes right now? And we're at question 18. We've probably done, 12 of the 17 questions we've already answered. We're so far ahead of pace. And I've only looked at questions that I know how to do, right? Or that I really know how to do, that I'm not overthinking it. You've seen how a few times I've used my calculator. 2 questions so far I've actually turned on my calculator. Don't overthink this. Don't overestimate the test, but also don't underestimate it. You got to find that sweet spot where overestimating is like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. I don't remember this at all on every question, when really you do remember it if you just take a deep breath. Underestimating is thinking you can do all the stuff in your head and you can't. Okay, you make simple mistakes, and that's going to cost you 10 points every time you make a simple mistake. Okay, this is just a systems of equations, right? Anytime they're stacked like this, you can solve it one of 2 ways. You can either substitute, which I like to do, or you can subtract down or up or add down. What is the value of 3x plus y? Be really careful, 3x plus y. So we're going to solve for both. Here we get x, right? I'm going to subtract 2y on both sides, minus 2y. X is equal to 10 minus 2y. Now I'm going to take that value of x, and because it's a system of equations, it means that the x can be plugged in for that one. So rather than saying I'm going to write 2x minus y is equal to 5, but I'm going to substitute this in here. I'm going to say 2 times 10 minus 2y minus y equals 5. Just be really careful. 20 minus 4y minus y equals 5. Subtract 20, combine like terms, you get what? Negative 5y is equal to negative 15, so y is equal to 3. So if y equals 3, I can just come back up here and plug that in, y equals 3. So I get x plus 2 times 3 equals 10, right? 6x plus 6 equals 10, x is equal to 4. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So 18 should be D. And you'll see, did that one take a second? Did I write everything out? Did I not try to do everything in my head? Absolutely. And I'm 95% sure that that's right. Those seem like reasonable numbers. My 15 came up as I went through that whole thing. I'm 95% sure I got that right. And did it take me 20 extra seconds? Okay, did it take me? Oh yeah, you're right. You can. That's a really good. So guys, that's a great point. Okay. So everybody see the comment just about you can just add them up, right? I just realized that you're 100% right. You can just add them straight down, right? Many of you will see things better than I do on the test. When you're taking a time test and you're trying to be focused on how much time's left, right, all that kind of stuff, you don't see things as clearly as when you don't have that stress. So when you go through this, there are going to be a million ways and a million better ways to solve this than what you're seeing from me right now. I just didn't see that. But the SAT does love to do that, where if you just add them straight down, you get to the right answer. They love to do that. The SAT does. So it's a great catch, and it's a great point to make because it says that there are a million ways to solve these questions, right? I used to despise when teachers would tell me that you have to do it this way. That's not what a real teacher should be doing. They should be directing you on how this whole concept works, and then allowing you to run with that, right? So, but it's up to you guys then there's a difference, right? There's always a difference in ways to solve it, and if you recognize a shortcut, then take that shortcut, but still write everything out, right? You still want to add those things down. But it's a great point to bring up because there are so many different ways to solve these questions. 19, I'm going to skip that one just because 20, right away, it's a line of best fit again. It just is a linear equation. The data shows a set of 11 points in a line of best fit. For how many data points is the y value predicted by the line of best fit greater than the actual y value? So this is the line of best fit, right? The y value is right here. Every single one of these points is less than the line of best fit, right? So I think there's what, 5 for number 20? Yeah, I think there's just 5, right? It's just whatever's below the line of best fit. We look at that, and the scatter plot shows a data set of 11 points and a line of best fit for the data. For how many data points is the y value predicted by the line of best fit greater than the actual y value? That seems so much more complicated than if you just look at that and you're like, well, there are 5 points below the line, and those are all less in the y value, so I would assume that that's right. That's all you have to be thinking about, right? That's where we don't want to overestimate the test. Even though 21 looks like a difficult problem, I can see right away that f of x, right, is equal to 100 minus 18x. That's a linear equation. It's amazing how often linear equations come up on the SAT. If there's any section that you guys should be reviewing, and you guys can all review this in our Star U app, look up linear equations on Star U. Okay, you guys can see that in the description below the video. If you have, it's all free. You can download a free account on Star U and create a free account. I'd recommend you guys do that. You can look up linear equations and just master this linear equation section. It appears so frequently. Okay, Dana has remaining X hours after she starts the race. What is the best interpretation of f of 2? Okay, well, the function is 100 mile long, right? And after a certain amount of time, she's losing time. So it means that 100, right, minus 18 times 2 hours, or 2 hours, right, is equal to 100 minus 36, which is 64, so that's our y value. So it means after 2 hours of riding, there's still 64 miles left to go in the race. Dana rides about 64 miles in the first 2 hours. No. Dana will ride the last 64 miles in about 2 hours. No. When Dana has ridden 64 miles, she has about 2 hours remaining. No. 2 hours after Dana starts the race, she has about 64 miles remaining. All right, started at 100, subtracting 18 miles for every hour. Should be right there. Okay, right away, guys, if you see triangles that look similar, right, these are the same angle measures. They should be similar triangles. Each have an angle measuring, yep, as shown below, which of the following statements is sufficient to prove triangle is congruent to triangle DEF. We have to have, right, this is one of those angle side angle problems. If you guys go back to geometry proofs, I'm sure not many of you guys want to go back to that, but we have to prove that EF is equal to BC. The length of BC is equal to the line of EF, right? And I knew that because it was just angle, side, angle. There's only so many of those proofs. Angle, side, side angle, side. There's only like 4 of them that you have to know. So there you go, right? It's got to be EF. So I think 22 has to be C. Let's keep going. Where did 23 go? How many solutions is the equation x plus 7 equals negative 4? Once we take the absolute value of anything, right, can we ever get a negative 4? No. An absolute value equation will always either have exactly 2 or 0. If they set it equal to negative 4 over here, right, you can't take the absolute value. That's the whole point, is it's the distance from 0 and it's always positive. Okay, just because it's the distance, whether it's positive or negative, so it always ends up being positive. You can't take the absolute value of something and end up with a negative number. It's not equal to a negative number. So if you ever see absolute value, there's always either 2 solutions or there's 0 solutions, and that's it. That's the unless you have an x squared term, but that's not dealing with the absolute value. That's not dealing with a different degree function, right? But if it's x to the single power to 1, x to the first power, there's only 2. There's going to be either 2 answer choices or 0 answer choices to that question, depending on what it's set equal to. So I think the answer has to be A for 23. Okay, 3x plus x minus 2 are a and b. What is the value of a plus b? I think you're right. If you guys have that poly root finder, the polynomial root finder on your calculator, this is one where the calculator might come into play. But I still like to solve this just in traditional, right? Because negative 2 is a prime number and 3 is a prime number. Okay, so if we look at this, right, we know that this has to be 3x, and we know this has to be x. Right, and now we just have to make the determination of what's plus and minus 2. This has to be 2, and this has to be 1. Always look to the first coefficient attached to the x squared, and then the last number, because if they're both prime, we know this has to be 3x, we know this has to be x, we know this has to be 2, and this is 1. And now we just have to figure out, whether or not we have to maybe move the 2 and the 1 around, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm going to say this is plus x here, so this should be 3x minus 2 times x plus 1. Right, then we spoil that out, we get 3x minus 2x is plus x. I think that's right. In this case, right, 3x is equal to positive 2, so x is equal to 2/3. X here is equal to negative 1. If they're added together, what do we get? Negative 1/3, I think, for 24, b. Right, because they're looking for a plus b. Be really careful on that. We add negative 1 into a plus b, right? Yep. 4, 25. Figure shown below, O is the center of the circle. Okay, if this is the center of the circle, right, just draw. These are little things that if you do enough of these problems, if you see enough of these tests, they all end up being the same. Right there, that's the radius of the circle. So if they give us the radius, that's going to help us a lot. One vertex of the square lies on the circle, and the opposite vertex is point O. The area of the shaded region. Did we miss the, what is it? I think that means, I don't know what the shaded region is here. It's not shaded because my digital copy here. Sorry about my dog barking in the background. That is a good question. What is the perimeter of the square? Well, I think that means that 36 pi, right, is the area of the circle, which I think means that this is 6. I think that they're going to say that's 6. And if that's 6, this is a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. So this is x, right, x root 2, always in a square. So that would be, this is equal to 6. So to find x, we divide by root 2, divide by root 2. So x is equal to 3 root 2, I think. 3 root 2. Multiply that by 4. I think this is C. I think that's right. I don't know what that is. I think that's the, I don't know, I can't see. If you guys have the digital copy of this, unfortunately this copy doesn't seem to have the shaded part of this. It just sometimes happens with these digital files. But I think it's got to be that, right? So I just found that this, because this is 36 pi, right, for the area of the circle, that's the total area of the circle. They're subtracting out the area of the square. And so I think 36 pi means that pi r squared is that it's 6, right? 6 is the radius of the circle, meaning 6 is the diagonal here. I'm going to keep moving on. I think that's the right way to do that one. And then it's the perimeter of the square. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression x to the 4th minus x 8x squared plus 16? This one, everybody, this one should be pretty straightforward too, right? If we do this out, we should get x squared, right? This is just like if you factor a polynomial. You get x squared minus 4, right, times x squared minus 4. Okay, because negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 4x squared plus negative 4x squared is negative 8x squared. It's just like factoring an x. If it was x squared minus 8x plus 16, and it was just x squared instead of the x to the 4th, it should be, right, it should be good. So then we just get, here we get x plus 2 times x minus 2. And here we get x plus 2 times x minus 2. So this is definitely right, because we have 2 of these and 2 of these. So it's definitely 1. So it's not D, and it's not B. And x squared minus 4 quantity squared is also right. So I think 26 should be C. Yeah, because we have 2, right? These two can just be combined. Each year, if you guys know the compound interest formula, this should be a pretty easy one. Each year, the value of an investment increases by 2.5%. So right away, 2.5% means that we can eliminate 0.25, and we're going to be, the answer is going to be B here, I think, 27. Let's just make sure. Yeah, so the compound interest equation is A, the final value is equal to the principal value, which is 500, times 1 plus R, the rate, if it's compounded more than once, times n to the t. So R, right, is 0.25. Be really careful. How often do you think that students miss this? If they don't write this out, which is why I wrote out 2.5, how often does somebody put 1.25, right, or 2.5? Even if you know that compound interest equation, it's still amazing how frequently students make a simple mistake there, just moving too quickly. If you know the compound interest equation, this is the point that I was making earlier. If you know the compound interest equation well, if you know it, if you're 100% sure that you know the compound interest equation, then there is absolutely zero reason that for us to miss that question. Just because that would be the only reason to miss that. If you knew this formula, the only reason to miss that would be because you were moving too quickly and you made a simple mistake. And we can't afford that. Who cares about whatever we skipped, number 3 or number 10? I don't remember. We skipped 3 and another one after that. Who cares about those problems, rushing through those, if we're 100% sure we know the compound interest formula? This one I do know that I can answer 27. I don't know right now if I can answer number 3. I think I can with enough time, but who knows? Right? So make sure you're focused and thinking about what you're doing. What's the problem in front of you, not how am I doing? What's my time? How am I doing? Am I going to get my score? If I don't, I'm a failure. I'll never get into Harvard. Right? Don't think about that. Right? Just think about, can I do this next question? And if I can, the score will take care of itself. How many solutions does this system have? I think it's just going to have 1, if any. I'm going to skip 28. That one, I know that one's going to take a while. I know I could get thrown off by that. Oh, this should be an easy one, right? Percent. And we will be doing more ACT ones next week. The number of books in the library increased by 30% from 2002 to 2014. There were X books in the library in 2002. Just set X books, right? X books is 100, right? Just for the time being, we're going to set X books in the library. Always set percentages equal to 100. If they don't give you a number, there were 100 books in the library in 2002 because it increased by 30%, right, from 2002 to 2014. Which expression represents the number of books in the library? So if we had 100 and we increased that by 30%, right, now in 2014, we have 130 books. Okay, so if X was 100, now we're going to plug this into each. We can plug this in. Is 130 times X equal to 130? No. 30 times 100? No. It's got to be, right? It's got to be 1.3. We're increasing it by 30%. So it's 1.3 times 100 books in 2002 would give us 130 books, right, in 2014. And again, understanding, plugging these into your, and I'll send this to everybody when we're done here, but plugging these into score reports, understanding what types of questions you are best at. Like I said, I already said this once earlier on an earlier question, I like doing percent probs. I know I like doing those, and then I have no business missing those because I know how the percent is going to work. I've seen enough of those. That doesn't mean I know every question. I'm sure some of you are going to look at questions that know much more than I do. Okay, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case on the next one, and it could be vice versa on the next one. So you've got to recognize what you are really strong at and then apply that and make sure that you get those 100% right every time. Challenge yourself to do that. In a survey, 240 television viewers, I'm going to skip that one for right now. What is the y-coordinate of the, y-intercept, right, which x is equal to 0. That should be pretty straightforward. Always write this down. If you see y-intercept, it's x equals 0. If you see x-intercept, y equals 0. And I know that's so easy when we think about it now and when we're going through it as a review, but it's not as easy on a timed test. If you just think y-intercept x equals 0, now I'm just plugging that in. Y is equal to 3 to the 0 power plus 9. Well, anything to the 0 power is just 1, so y is equal to 1 plus 9, which is 10. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, if the triangle is similar, where A corresponds to angle D, okay, what is the value of cosine of F? Okay, well, cosine of F, right, if you're looking for here, that corresponds to C. So the cosine of C is going to be the same as the cosine of F once you reduce. So cosine of C is adjacent, which is 24 over 30. So cosine C equals 24 over 30, which reduces to 5 over 6. And the cosine of F is equal to the cosine of C. Always, if you have similar triangles, regardless of the side lengths, they'll always reduce in the ratio. So it's always going to be, right, 5 over 6 should be our answer there. What is it? No. 4 over 5, right? Divided by, yeah, guys, be careful, right? Is it 4? Yeah, 4 over 5, because we're dividing by 6. It didn't seem right to get 6 times, yes, I was thinking of 4 over 5. Same principle applies, guys. You can see that if you're not careful, after every one of these questions, I've asked myself in my head, does that make sense? If it does, then I'm moving on. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, I was like, wait, 6, because I was dividing by 6 in my head. You could see how quickly you could make a simple mistake. So I was dividing by 6, and I said 30 divided by 6 was 5, which should mean that 5 is the denominator, and that stopped me for a second, so I know that the answer really should be 4/5, not 5/6. So be careful. Ask yourself after every question, does that answer choice actually make sense? The graph shows the power capacity for the 9 countries that had the greatest thermal power capacity in 2010. What was the capacity in megawatts of the countries that had the median capacity? Write out these. Whenever you see this word median, simple mistake, simple mistake, simple mistake. You got to think that. You have to write these ones out. Watch how easy this question is. 204. You can't imagine how many times I see students make simple mistakes when a question asks about a median. 536. Is this going to take us that long? No. Is it going to take us longer than if we tried to do it in our head? Yes. But is there a chance a very low chance now that we make a simple mistake? Yes. 628. What's next? 863. 958, I think. 1197, 1904, and 38.7. And always, after you've written them out on the median, count up how many you have. We're supposed to have 9 countries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I know I haven't missed them. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. 863 is the median. That was Italy, so 863 is our median. Yeah, that may have taken us an extra 40 seconds to do that problem, but we almost guarantee that we get it right. And that's the key. 35. If the line is shown in the xy plane and the point coordinates 2c is on the line, what is the value of c? Okay, so 2c is on the line. It's right there. It looks like we have a y-intercept at 0, 4, so y is equal to, it goes up 4 and over 5, so it's 4, negative 4/5 x. Negative 4/5 x plus 4 is our equation. Rise over run, right? And then we're just going to plug in 2, so y is equal to negative 4 over 5 times 2 plus 4. Y equals negative 8/5. I'm going to convert this into fifths plus 20/5, right, which is equal to 4. So y equals 12 over 5. or c, right? C equals 12 over 5, but they're just throwing that c variable to try to confuse you. So don't let them, right? What about 36? Let's see, based on the table, be careful with tables and graphs as we talked about earlier. Based on the table, what is the typical minimum weight of an adult African elephant in the wild in pounds? Adult African elephant. The table gives the typical adult weight ranges and lifespans for African typical minimum weight in the wild, right? In the wild, so typical minimum weight times. Oh, it's all in the wild. I think this is just 2.5. Am I crazy? 2.5 times 2,000 times 2,000 is equal to 5,000. Right? I think that's right. That one seems too easy, but I can't. I did everything I was supposed to, right? I looked for in the wild. I was making sure that there was no, right? There was no speculation about what was in the wild. So I think it's just 5,000. That one should be pretty straightforward. But I did all the things that I needed to do, so I think that's right. Hopefully. Based on the table, the typical lifespan of the African elephant in the wild is p% greater than the typical lifespan of the Asian elephant. Disregard to an entry answer. Okay, so disregard. So yeah, guys, this is for the student-produced responses. If they ask you for a percent problem on student-produced responses, just know that you don't have to write in the percent. So it looks like the typical lifespan is 70, right, over 60. African elephant is p% greater. Okay, so guys, here we're just going to do 70 minus 60, right, over 60. Because the 60 is the one we're considering, right, is the Asian, I think, is the Asian elephant, right? So that would be 10 over 60, which would be 1 over 6. You can plug that into our calculator. You're doing it based on the Asian elephant because it's the percent greater than the Asian elephant, right? That's what we're looking for. So this one I do need, because we're looking 1 divided by 6. Should be 0.1667, so it should be 16.67%. One other thing, if it's in your calculator, if you ever get 16.6666, right, repeating percent, the SAT will accept either 16.667 or 16.66. Either one of those will be considered right. So don't overthink that if you get to that point. The table shows several values of x and their corresponding values. The function f is defined. This is y equals mx plus b, where m and b are constants. What is the value of b? Okay, so this is just really a systems of equations problem, right? Because we're looking for y equals mx plus b, and in two examples here, now we have the x and the y twice, and we need to solve for the m and the b. What is the value of b? Well, here we have 106 is equal to, if there's 4 allotted spaces, right, then you just do, okay, yeah, so 16.6 or 16.7, right? I think that's what you were going back to. Yeah, if you're going back to 60, either one of the 60, whatever the number is, right, that if you have 1.66 or 16.6, just whatever the number is, they won't penalize you for rounding up or down. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so this would be 106, right, is equal to m times 2 plus b. So one of our equations is 106 is equal to 2m plus b. Our other equation is 151 is equal to 3m plus b, right? 3m, yeah, and then we just have to add or subtract down. Okay, so I'm going to actually solve for m here because I think it's going to be easier. I'm going to subtract these down and get rid of the b. I know we're solving for b, but I still think it's going to be easier to not have to do all the multiplication. So 106 minus 151 is 45. So negative 45 is equal to negative m. So m is equal to 45. Yeah, so that's the easier way. Even though it's another step, we don't have to multiply or add anything. So here I think we should get y is equal to 45 x plus b, and now we can just plug in either one of the values that we had. So 106 is equal to 45 times 2 plus b, solve, b is going to equal 16. 45 times 2 is 90. 106 minus 90 is b equals 16. This is 16, not 116. And now I feel like, hey guys, look, if I did I do 30? Yeah, 37. Right, 30. This should be 16.7. Yeah, that's it. Look, I feel like I have 10 minutes left, right? 10 and a half minutes left, and now I can go back to the beginning. I'm actually gonna work backwards right now, real quick, because I think the free response questions. Don't forget, or at least before I go back to the very beginning, I'm gonna try number 31 because you can't guess on the free response questions. If my goal was only to skip 4 questions on this in order to get to guarantee a 760, if I was accurate on all the other ones, I can't guess on the free response. So if you ever have some time left and you skipped questions, always go back to the free response questions just to see if you can do them. If you can't, don't overstress it. But if you can do those, you know you have an advantage because you can't guess on the free response. Whereas on the multiple choice, I'm going to guess a few of those right. If I skip 4, I'm guaranteed to guess one of those right just by normal probability, right? But I can't, in 99.999% chance that you cannot guess this 31 right. In a survey of 240 television and 3/5 indicated that they like comedies. Some indicated that they do not like comedies, and the rest did not respond. One of the 240 visitors is not respond. How many of you indicate they did not like comedies? Okay, so 3/5, right? We have 3/5. Oops, 3 over 5, right? Times 240. It's going to be 3 times 80. That's going to be reduced, right? Now am I just confusing myself again? That's 24. That's 48, right? 48 times 3 is... I have a calculator, right? 48. Why am I doing this? 0.6 times 240. 144. So 144 said they liked comedies. 115, right? So 240 divided by 15 equal to 16. So 160 people. Okay, 16 plus 144. It said that they did not respond or that they liked comedies, meaning that 80 people, 80 people did not like comedies because that's what's left over. I just did 115 times 240. That it got me to 16, and then I added that to the 144. So 80 should be our answer here. Okay, now we're going back. We have about 8 minutes left. I'm not stressed. I did as many as I could that I felt like were pretty straightforward. I know that we've skipped a few, but if hopefully these one, I mean, this one shouldn't be that bad. It's number 3. I'm warmed up. I've been thinking about math now for a bit, so I should be able to do number 3, and that's just another 10 points added. Okay. Let's see. The Roman metronomic numerals placed on display. How does the median diameter of the plates compare to the median diameter of the plates from Greece? Median diameter, median is 20. That would be R median is greater than. No, this is the, yeah. Whoops, that's easier than I thought it was. Oh yeah, because it's number 3. Yeah, this should just be A. G is, yeah. I was thinking that those are if you guys have taken a stats class, those are like quartiles, right? The 4 quartiles. I gotta do some review of that myself. Number 7. The 2 histograms showing the distribution of data set A and set B. Data set B is a result of improving outlier from data set A. So only terms what means the data set A and data set B is true. Data set B, frequency. Once again, I can't really see this that well. This is where I think this is saying that there's some value out here, right, with this line. It's hard to tell because, like we said, with the printer issue, but these ones seem the same, and then there does seem to be some value. So the mean of data set A is greater. They're not the same. I think it's B. It's less than no, because this is so A here has something going on at 60. There looks like there's 1, and there maybe looks like there's 1 at 70 as well. That set B does not have, and obviously if you add 2 more. of those variables on. Yeah, removing the outlier. That's the outlier. Yeah, and that makes sense, right? When you remove an outlier, they do that in stats so that the mean isn't skewed by just one person. So that should be right. 10, the graph shows the number of algae cells grown during an experiment in millions of cells per milliliter. Between which 2 days was the growth rate in millions of cells of the algae the greatest? Well, it should be right here, right? From 5 to 6, I think. Yeah, right? The greatest is just it's the slope, right? If you guys are in calculus or pre-calculus class, the increase, right, between which days is the growth rate. The growth rate is the increase. It should be just between day and 5 and 6. Because the slope is whenever the slope is the steepest, there's the greatest increase. Hopefully that one's pretty straightforward. 12, I don't think we've done 12 yet. We've got 5 minutes left. Right, take your time. If we have to guess on 1 or 2 at the end, it's fine. We're still going to do well. We already know what we got on the no calc section. You guys won't know, obviously, in the real test, but you'll have a sense. Okay, so the frequency table above shows the distribution of the actual number of fluid ounces of water in a random sample of 20, 18, 20 on bottom. Okay, it's another frequency table. So those are only so that they can at least 19.8, but no more than 20.2. Okay, so 19.8. Draw that in, right? I don't know if that's going to mean anything, but it's important. If the proportion of bottles that can be sold in the same sample in the 16,000 on 20-ounce bottles with the plan each cannot be sold. Okay, so it looks like there's 1, 2 of the 80. Okay, it looks like 2 of the 80 cannot be sold, right? This one here and this one here cannot be sold. Okay, so that means 2 over 80 times 16,000, right, over 1 is equal to what? Well, I guess 1 over 40, so 16,000. 16,000, I hope my calculator is going to be 400. 12 is C, 12 is C. Keep going, do we get these ones? Nope, we didn't do 14. Go 3.5 minutes. When a buffet restaurant charges $12 per meal, the number of meals it sells per day is 400. For each 50-cent increase to the price, the number of meals sold per day decreases by 10. What is the price per meal? Results in the greatest sales in dollars from meals each day. Okay, so $16. Well, let's just do 20, right? If we do 20 and we start there, that would mean that we're increasing by, that would be 50 cents. That would be 16, right? 16 increases. So that would be times sold per day, decreases by 10, right? So it'd be 160. It'd be 16 times 240. Oops, I'm sorry. It'd be 20 times 240. So let's see that. 20 times 240. It'd be 4,800. Okay. What about 24? That would be. What would that be? That'd be 12. That'd be 24. 240. So. Yeah. Well, let me just go back. So 20, I think, is $4,800. 12, right? 12 times 400 is 4,800. Okay, so, oh yeah, so then it's got to be in between those. So this was equal to 2,400. When I did 12 times 400, I got 4,800, meaning that that's where the parabola is. So I think it's got to be 16 times, that would be 80 meals, so times 160 is, whoa, no. 50 cent increases, that's 8. What am I doing? 8 times 10, yeah. Oh, that's 320. 320 times 16 is 5120, yeah, so it's got to be A. So this is an optimization problem that is going to cost me because I spent too much time going through it. Come on. Nah, my iPad's not doing it. And advertising guarantees website chart by 3.5% compared to each previous week. As long as the number of weeks increases 3% compared to each previous week, it's got to be that's increasing exponentially. If you're increasing by the same rate every week, then it's an exponential increase. What is a given system? I don't have time for that one right now. Do I have any more? Yeah, let me see this one real quick. I'll come back. So right there, guys, I think I have 2 questions that I skipped, and now come on. So let me do 29 first, because this one looks a little bit easier than the last one. Bridges between the sections. Size of the gap in inches is a linear function. Think about linear degrees per certain bridge. The gap width is Difference relationship between temperature and the gap width. So by going down 1 inch, you're going up 60 degrees. So down 1 inch, going up 60 degrees. Temperature is the x. Temperature is the x value. So that would be 60, right? 60. No, that would be the rise. The rise, yeah, that would be the x values here. So it's not C or D. So then plus minus. I think it's going to be A here because this is going to start at a high value. And then how much time? 10 seconds. How many solutions does the given system have? I'm just going to finish this one out, guys, even though I know I'm going to run over time. Equals negative 5x. All right, there's my time, guys. So I'm just going to finish this one out. We can mark it incorrect, but y equals negative 5x plus 9, right? So we're going to say y equals 5x minus 9. I think it's going to have exactly 1, right? No, wait. Oh, no, I can do this one. Negative 60x plus 12y equals negative 108. If I divide everything by 12, I get negative 5x plus y equals 9. Negative 9 equals negative 9. I divide by negative 1. It's going to have infinitely many d. D for 28. I know I was a little over there, but this is going to end up being the same equation. 5x. I should have recognized that. 5x minus y equals positive 9. Those are the same line. I should have recognized that. Because 0, if it had 0 solutions, it was parallel. I was overthinking that one the first time through. That should have been a lot easier question. So 28, I think, is going to be D. Okay, but yeah, that was a bad miss. Because I always talk about, too, in our other videos, I always talk about to look out for infinitely many or no solutions, which is parallel lines. I didn't even listen to my own advice. I think we got every one of them done, though. So let's see how we did, okay? So if you guys ever want to, if you guys followed along, we'll see here. If you guys want to search, usually you can just find these on Reddit. You just search like on Google 2021 March SAT answers. I'm sure some of you have it if you took these. Yeah, so if you just search it, it should be pretty easy to find. It's usually the first one. All right, so number 1. Yeah, like I said, the first one is a Reddit post, is a Reddit forum link that you just have to click, and then it's right there. So let me scroll down here. Okay, here we go. Number 1 is D. Whoops. Number 1 is Number 1 is D. Number 2 is B. 3 is A. 4 is C. 5 is C, 6 is C, 7 is B, good. 8 is D, 9 is B, 10 is B. Yep. 11 is B, 12 is C, 13 is C, 14 is A, 15 is A, 16 is D, 17 is D. 18 is also D, good. 19 is A. 20 is A. 21 is D. 22 is C. Yep. 23 is A. 24 is B. 25 is C. 26 is C. 27 is 26 is C. Yep. 27 is B, good. 28 is D. That was a bad. You guys can mark me off for that one if you want, if you're keeping track at home. That was just a bad. That should have taken way less time. It was just an error, right? When you get stressed with time, if you're overlooking something, what you know to be easy on an untimed test. Like if I look at that now, and when I recognized it because I knew the timer was out, I was like, oh, what am I thinking? Because I actually looked at the answer choices. When you're stressed and you're starting to go through too many math problems, you don't think the same way, and that's what these videos are designed to do. Is to not just show you me sitting up here being like, this is how you do question number 25. It's like what happens in the real environment. This is how you do question number 5 is not how it really feels when you're taking the test. I'm not a stressed. As a kid, I wasn't a stressed person. I'm not very stressed now. I don't get overwhelmed typically with these tests. I didn't as a kid, but you can see that no matter how many times you do this, there's always going to be that feeling of oh my God, how much time do I have left? Where's my time? And you started to see me even, as I do this more and more, you started to see that towards the end with like 5 or 6 minutes left, I started to talk about the time a lot more, which I didn't early. That happens to everybody. And so what these videos are trying to do is to simulate to show you things like 28, right? The 28 should have been much better. It should have been much easier than I made it to be, but that was because the time was a factor. We still got that one right, but if you guys want to mark it wrong at home, you can. 29 is A, 30 is C. I don't think we had any other issues. 31 was 80. Good. 32 was 10. 33 was 4/5. That was a good catch. I always ask yourself after. 34, I hope is right. 34 is 863. If that one wasn't right after that spiel I gave, that would have been bad. 35 is 12/5. 36 is 5,000. 37 is, what did I say, 16.7 for 16.6, yeah. And then 38 is 16. So yeah, it was either 37 or 38, depending on what you want to give me for that number. But I'm going to give myself a 38. Ran over a little bit of time there at the end, but only maybe 20, 30 seconds. So I'm going to say 38 out of 38, which means on the March 2021 test, for the first time on these real-time videos between both sections, we were 58 out of 58 for a perfect 800. Okay, so again, what I want to show you guys, right? What I want to show you is that you don't have to overestimate this test. Okay, I was talking a lot through that. You guys can see in the no calc video where we do it in 12 minutes. You have 25 minutes to do the no calc section. We did it in 12. If I don't talk as much and keep my head down and really focus, you'd be amazed at how easy some of these concepts are. And I don't mean that just because I'm a math tutor, I do this all the time. I mean that for every single one of you. That y equals mx plus b showed up probably 10 out of the 38 questions on this section of the test. 10 out of 38 for y equals mx plus b, and that's something that you learn in pre-algebra. Okay? It's so critical that we recognize that and we don't overwhelm ourselves. We don't talk ourselves out of this before it even starts. Okay, so I hope you guys learned a lot from this. If you haven't downloaded Star U yet and you want to see how all of these concepts fit in, right, I highly recommend that everybody download Star U. I can bring it up on the background of my screen real quick. Okay, but if you haven't downloaded Star U yet, it's free. It's in the App Store. It's in Google Play. Star U, download for free, App Store. Google Play. It takes like 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds to access, to create a free account. And when you guys see this here in just a second, okay, right, you're going to sign in here. Right here, you guys can click Lessons and Practice Problems, click SAT, then SAT Math, and we just talked about how many linear equations questions. If you scroll down here and you go to the very bottom, okay, linear equations right here, every single thing that you need to know, including extra practice problems. So then if you click Tap to Start right at the bottom, you guys can see very similar questions to what you'd see on the actual exam. Very important that you guys are looking through this and thinking about, okay, what am I missing? What types of questions am I missing? And how do I eliminate missing those the next time I take the test? All right? Yeah, so in terms of English stuff, like I said, the playlist for the other 2 sections, the reading, writing, and language, is below. I would highly recommend watching those videos if you haven't. And then we'll also be doing that comprehensive review tomorrow night. So if you guys are looking for tips and strategies for the English and the reading sections, the writing and language and the reading sections, tune in tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, wherever you are in the world, I guess. It depends. But for our comprehensive SAT review for the June 5th test. And we'll go through 2 hours worth of every section of the exam. So I encourage you guys to check that out. I'll post that one more time here. Comprehensive review for SAT. Set a reminder for yourself if you can. Otherwise, guys, I hope this was really helpful. I'll let you guys go now, but again, download Star U, create a free student account. It takes 2 seconds. You guys can go through a million practice questions just like the ones you looked at today on this test. I promise it'll make a world of difference in terms of helping you improve on every section of the exam. You'll see that we have every section here. So if you're looking for help with reading and writing and language, you can obviously access Star U for that as well. But keep working hard. Everybody's doing a great job. I can't tell you how impressed I am. If everybody gave me one more thumbs up, that'd be great. Don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe. We want to keep doing these videos, and the more subscribers we have, the better chance that we can do more of these videos for you. So don't forget to tell your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and then download Star U and get that free student account set up so that you guys can start doing practice problems as well. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Let us know if you have any questions. Our tutors and teachers are always happy to help if you comment below these videos. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Wherever you are in the world, have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow. Have a great rest of your week. And hopefully we see you for that comprehensive review tomorrow night. Download Star U, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right? Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.